Hi, I'm Bridget Davis, the Internet Chef, and you're watching another episode of the Internet Chef TV. Bit of a special episode for you today. I'm making a little dessert and sharing with you a very wonderful recipe, and that recipe is for a dessert that comes from my homeland of New Zealand, and it's the Pavlova. Now, a bit of an argument's been going on between our cousins in Australia, where I currently reside, between the Aussies and the Kiwis for a long time. I'm a Kiwi, so I'm going to say Pavlova was invented in New Zealand, and because I currently live in Australia, even more so I'm going to say that Pavlova was invented in New Zealand. So there you go, there's the facts. So let's make some Pavlova. As I said, it's a special dessert. It's very much like a meringue in its creation. The only difference is you get a very crisp outer exterior with an amazingly pillowy, like juicy, tender interior. Very, very nice, almost chewy sort of a texture going on internally. So fantastically wonderful, really, really simple to make, provided we do follow a few little watch points. So let's get into it. First thing we're going to do is we're going to mix together the sugars that are going to go into our Pavlova, because basically Pavlova is a combination of egg whites, some sugars, and a little bit of corn flour, and that's pretty much it. So what I have in my bowl here is I have the brown sugar component. So I've got half a cup of brown sugar, and it is a soft brown sugar as well. As you can see, I'm able to sort of squash it down quite simply. If your brown sugar has got lumps, all you need to do is push it through a sieve. Any of the hard lumps, discard them and keep all this soft stuff, because the lumps are not going to be able to dissolve once they get mixed through your egg whites. So we've got the brown sugar in there. We're also going to take a little bit of caster sugar. I can't make my Pavlovas entirely with brown sugar. They just won't work quite as well. But what I can do is have that brown sugar component. And the reason we do have that brown sugar in there is the brown sugar really helps to assist giving that Pavlova some amazing caramel-like flavors. So I'm using 1.5 cups of caster sugar that's going to go into the brown sugar. 1.5 cups of that. We're also going to take about 1 tablespoon and 1/2 of corn flour. So that goes in. And really important as well, that we also add just a bit of a pinch of salt in there. And once again, people say, why are you putting salt in your desserts? It's really important to remember that salt not only makes things salty, but it helps our palate to detect flavors. So we're going to pick up all the flavors that are present in this Pavlova dish. So all the sugars and the corn flour combined with the salt, give it a bit of a mix through. And apart from egg whites, that's almost our Pavlova ingredients done. Now you don't have to be too thorough with the mixing here. If you like I said, if you've got the lumps, all you need to do is push the sugars through a sieve. But I'm pretty confident that my sugars have been kept in an airtight container, so they haven't had a chance to go hard on me. So I'm pretty happy with that. So that's cool. So now that we're at this point, all we need to do is ready our egg whites. So I'm going to put my egg whites straight into my mixing bowl that I'm going to use to mix my Pavlovas. If you are a bit concerned about your ability to separate your whites and your yolks, which is what we're going to do now, I would suggest that you do this before they go into the mixing bowl. I'm feeling pretty confident today that I'm going to be able to get that mixing right, so I'm going to go directly into my bowl. So what we want to do is we want to add 6 egg yolks. Now, the key to a really good Pavlova, I don't want that to be, the key to a really good Pavlova is the freshness of your eggs. Now I'm using free-range organic eggs for a start, and these I have just purchased, so I'm pretty confident they're nice and fresh. So crack your eggs, and you want to do that in the middle, and then you just need to split them. And without putting eggshell into your bowl, what we're going to do is we're going to transfer the yolks from one shell to the other. And as we transfer the yolks over, you can see that the egg whites naturally falling off. We're just going to assist it there. And then with our yolks, we're going to keep those because those are really good, and throw our shell. So it's pretty simple. You crack your egg in the middle, separate with your 2 thumbs, and then it's just a case of transferring your egg yolks over. Now the last thing that you want to do, really important, that you don't get any traces of yolk in your egg whites, because what will happen then is your egg whites won't whip up, and that's another little secret of making Pavlova, is you've got to have stiffly beaten egg whites, and they just won't stiffly beat if you've got any yolk in there. So another thing that, and I have seen it attempted before, If you do not own or do not have a electric cake mixer of any description, it can even be the handheld variety. If you don't own one of those, I wouldn't attempt this recipe by trying to hand whip your whites, because it's just a lot of work. Unless you've got a lot of people lined up who can sort of take it in turns, I wouldn't attempt it. This really is one where you do need to have the right appliance for the job. Now what I've done is I've accidentally cracked the yolk wrong, so this is actually quite good because I can show you another technique. So if you do have the problem where your eggshell doesn't crack in half perfectly, this is what you do using obviously very, very clean hands. You want to put the yolk into your hand, very just gently just stretch your fingers, and what will happen is as you're stretching your fingers, the whites will just naturally seep through your fingers. So that's if you get it wrong, and you're just left with that little ball of goodness, which is pretty fantastic. So that can go in there as well. So we've got all our egg whites in there. All we need to do is put it on our mixer. This is going to get a little bit noisy, but bear with me, because we want this to stiffen quite nicely. So you want to put this on. I'm going to put this on full blast. Before I turn it on full blast, I'll explain what I'm about to do. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to put these egg whites onto high or maximum spinning, and I'm going to achieve what we call stiff whites. So be back. It's going to take about 1 or 2 minutes. So I'll come back to me in about 2 minutes time. Okay, what we have here, the mix has been going for around about 1.5 minutes, and what I have here is what I like to call just stiff egg whites. So they still require quite a bit of work. I've added nothing else. What we have here is just stiff, but by no means have they got stiff peaks. They're just starting to form, as you can see the egg whites there. Now, one of the things I forgot to mention earlier on is the importance when you are working with your eggs is that your eggs are at room temperature. You're going to get a lot more volume out of your egg whites. Yes, it is said that your eggs are easier to separate if they're cold from the fridge, and if you do take your eggs and use them cold from the fridge before you actually you separate, before you start whipping, you need to allow them about an hour to come up to room temperature before you start whipping. So that's just stiff. I haven't added anything else to that. At this point, what I'm going to do also is I'm going to put my oven on. Now, really important when it comes to your oven, that you set your oven as low as possible, because meringues and pavlova both like to cook in a very slow oven. And the oven that I'm using is an Electrolux oven. And one of the things I really love about this oven is it can get down to really low temperatures, and it can maintain those low temperatures really well. So I'm putting my oven onto 120 degrees. That's Celsius. We're going to flash up how much that is in Fahrenheit right about now. So 120 degrees Celsius. Your oven is on, and I've got it on a bake cycle, no fan as well. One thing that eggs don't like when they are either in a souffle or in a pavlova or meringue state is they don't like any fan, because the fan basically blows the oven around, blows the air around the oven. We don't want them with our meringues. We want them to set very gently in a warm oven. So I've got my oven on 120 degrees. Back to my eggs. At this point, what we need to do is we need to start incorporating the sugar. So I'm going to put this on a medium speed. And I'm going to start to very slowly incorporate all this sugar. And I'm going to do that not by dumping it all in at the same time. What I actually need to do is to do this very slowly. And it's basically a tablespoon of sugar at a time goes into the meringue. And the entire time that the sugar is being incorporated, of course, we have the mixer going around. I'm just going to turn it up just a bit. So now it's gone on to just above medium. You just hear the engine just picking up nicely. And we're going to be able to incorporate our sugar in there. Now this process itself, what's going to happen, by the time I've incorporated all my sugar, so once I put it in a tablespoon, I just allow it a little bit of a time to incorporate, and then I add another tablespoon. Now by the time I've added all the sugar into the egg white mixture, about 5 minutes will have elapsed, and we will have a beautiful glossy meringue. So bear with us, 5 minutes time we'll be ready to go. Okay, we're back. It's been about 5 minutes, and I know it's been about 5 minutes because I'm really loving this little Breville mix that I have here. It has a timer on it, so I've been watching the time to make sure that I don't undermix my meringues. But it's also really important, I get asked this a lot, can you overmix the meringue mixture at this stage? And yes, you can. So about 5 minutes is where you want to stop, because what you're looking for, remember, is that lovely glossy meringue-like mixture. So let's lift the top of this here, And if, I don't know if you can see this, I'll show you. But what we have is quite a fantastic, you can see how the actual whisk itself has left marks in the mixture there. So we know it's amazingly stiff and it's amazingly glossy. I mean, if you're picking up how glossy that mixture is, it's fantastic. So I'm really happy with how that's turned out. I can tell that my egg whites were lovely and fresh. I haven't undermixed and I haven't overmixed because it's looking lovely and glossy, and we've got those markings from the whisk in there. So all we need to do now is to put our little pavlovas into the oven. Now, rather than making, it's what quite traditional back home is to make quite a large pavlova, like a cake size pavlova, and sort of top it with whipped cream and kiwi fruit, of course being New Zealand, and strawberries, and sort of serve large wedges of it. I quite like the idea of doing little mini individual size pavlovas, so we're going to do that today. You can feel free to do a large cake size, and if you've got a cake tin, so what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be using this this little cookie cutter here to size out my individual pavlovas. If you've got quite a large cake tin, you can use that as your guide for when you fill it. So we're just going to take a little bit of using non-stick cooking spray just onto the bottom of a metal tray. That's going to help my baking paper to stick to the bottom, because when I start to fill my case with meringue mixture, you do have to be quite forceful. So in order to be quite forceful, I need to make sure this paper's not going anywhere, because this non-stick paper is obviously going to ensure that our beautiful pavlovas don't stick to the base of this metal tray. So taking my tablespoon, I'm going to take my beautiful, I nearly forgot, one more process before we get going. This is another really important step as well. I have the wonderful Maggie Bear's verjuice here, which is a type of vinegar, but it's a very, very delicate vinegar, and it's made from the unfermented grapes. Sorry, can you see that? It's made from unfermented grapes, and basically it has this wonderful flavour that's similar to vinegar, but without that vinegary taste that you get that's quite sort of astringent in your face. This is delicate and gentle, and it really does help just to give the meringues just enough of a little acid hit without too much. So I'm using about a teaspoon of that, and rather than whisking it, I'm just going to lightly fold that through. Alright, so don't forget the verjuice. If you can't find verjuice, then you can use a little bit of white vinegar. Definitely not malt vinegar, that's not going to work. So taking our tablespoon, nice big dollop, we're going to put that into the base of our mould, it's on the side, and give it a bit of a whack down, because we want to make sure that it's nice and filled. So about 3 heaped tablespoons per ring. And then what you want to do with your spoon is just run your spoon gently around the edge, and as you're running it around the edge, lift your ring up and you're left with that gorgeous little meringue there. So we'll try that again. So you just dop it down there. Remember, 3 big dollops per round, and then we just bring that up. Leave some space, because they will a little bit move, they will rise a little bit in the oven, so you just need to leave, you don't want to have them too close together. And I'll just do a couple more for you so you see the technique. I mean, they look fantastic, they're absolutely gorgeous. Depending on the size you want, you could use bigger cookie cutters if you wanted them to be bigger. You could use flatter ones if you wanted them to be more flat, rather than mine are quite high, but I quite like that, the height that you get out of this sort of size cookie cutter. So remember, just run your spoon around, pull it off. Ooh, you want it to come around a bit, and you're left with that lovely swirl. And you're wanting to get about 6 on a tray. This mixture will make you, depending on the size of your meringues or your pavlova, will make you around about 9. So that's 9 desserts out of 6 egg whites, which is pretty good. So one more. Oh, see, we didn't spray quite enough. That's why he stuck, the paper wanted to come up. So last one, and then we'll pop them into the oven. Now they need to sit, remember the oven's set nice and low, 120 degrees, and they need to sit in the oven and slowly bake for just on an hour. So I'm going to set my oven for an hour, and then I'm going to come back once they're done, and we're going to finish them off. So into the oven they go. And I'll see you back here in around about an hour. Welcome back. It's been exactly 1 hour. The oven just beeped at me to let me know that hour has now elapsed, which means that our Pavlovas are ready to be brought out of the oven. Quite an exciting time to see what we've managed to cook up in that hour's time. So, these are awesome. What we have here, I'm really happy with how these have turned out. They look fantastic. See, they've just gotten a little bit bigger. They just have grown a little bit as they've cooked in the oven, but they look absolutely sensational. Now, ideally, what you want to do at this point is you want to allow your Pavlovas to sit and cool down before you actually eat them. But because I need to show you how I like to finish them off, I'm actually going to serve them straight. So ideally, once your Pavlovas come out of the oven, you need to allow them, at least an hour to cool down completely before you serve them. I mean, these can be made the night before. They keep really, really, really well. In fact, if you're having a dinner party, you could even think of making them a couple nights or a couple days before your dinner party. And the best way to store your Pavlovas is in an airtight container, and they will keep really, really well. Not in the fridge, just in the pantry in an airtight container. They'll keep really well for you for a couple of days. But we are going to cheat, and we're going to serve them now so you can see what fantastic toppings we have to go with our Pavlovas. So I'm just going to take my plate. I'll put up here so you can see what I'm doing. I'm going to take my plate and very carefully, this is one Pavlova per serve, and because we want it to look really, really gorgeous, we're going to take the biggest one here. And we're going to use the biggest one. Fantastic. Here's a good little trick for you. Good way to tell if your Pavlova is ready is just to pick. Oh, look at that! Can you see how fantastic? Look at the swirls on it from the brown sugar. So pick it up and give it a little bit of a tap. Can you hear that on the microphone? That hollow noise. That's a good indication that your Pavlova is ready as well. But I mean, that's holding up so well. It's beautiful and crusty on the exterior, on the outside there, and I just can't wait to break into it. So that is going to go onto our plate. First, I'm just going to put down a dollop of whipped cream. Now I've just whipped up a little bit of cream with just a tiny bit of icing sugar, just to make it a little bit sweet. That's going to go down the bottom of my plate, and that is going to stop my Pavlova from moving around when I go to serve it. Of course, it works a lot better if your Pavlova is not warm like mine is, and that just almost acts like a little bit of glue. See, it's not going to go anywhere now, just staying on there really, really well. So what I did is whip that cream up, but as well as whipping the cream up, I also went one step forward, further, took a few frozen berries from the freezer and made a little bit of a beautiful berry compote here. Just so delicious. All I did was, this is about say 2 cups of berries to half a cup of brown sugar, put them on the induction cooktop here, brought it to the boil, and as soon as they came to the boil, I turned it off. And what happens is all this liquid that you can see here is just basically what came out of the berries. I added no liquid to it. This is just brown sugar and berries, and you bring it to the boil, turn it off as soon as it comes to the boil, so your berries don't get all mushy. They're still nice and whole, and that's going to be gorgeous on top of our Pavlova. So take your cream, and we're just gonna put it on top there, a little bit like that. Take that bit off the side because we want this to look as beautiful as possible. I'm going to add a little bit more because, well, why not? There we go. And then we take our berries. So berries and liquid. Basically, it's time. I'm just going to make a little indentation there, so the berries go off a little bit and stay on. Berries go on, and that little indentation you made, and then you allow those gorgeous juices to just drip down your Pavlova. Oh, here we go. The volcano, the avalanche is about to fall, and there it goes. Absolutely gorgeous. This is a delightful dish, really, really glorious. It is so simple to make once you follow those watch points, and then at the end of it you have this gorgeous dessert that Who wouldn't enjoy a bit of that pavlova? So thank you for joining us here today. Please feel free to join us on Twitter, Bridget_Cooks. Join us on Facebook, even join us on Google+, the Internet Chef. Or if you like these videos and you'd like to see more, push this button now and one click will help you subscribe, and all these videos will be coming straight to you. So hope to see you again soon, and thanks for stopping by. See you later.